Let's actually pivot over to the real podcast now that we're warmed up here. I always love to start these. I'd love to hear your 90-second pitch. Who are you and what does your company do?
Okay, great. My name is Dr. Anton. I am a individual who was born in New York, lived in Huntsville, went through the school system at in Huntsville, Alabama, graduated from Oakland University, completed medical school, got my master's in biotechnology. I also have a lot of experience in the area of health administration. I have been a professor and over the past 13 years, an entrepreneur in biotechnology. So I have started several companies, and what drove me to start Biolabshare was the lack of affordable healthcare places for entrepreneurs like myself. In Maryland, it's very expensive. And so I said, there must be a better way.
Mm.
And so when I looked at the Huntsville location, my parents have some land, a lot of land, about 25 acres. And I said that this would be a good place to set up a biolabshare, bio-hub, where we can facilitate entrepreneurs in the area of biotechnology, life sciences, health, AI, and feed the ecosystem here in terms of creating health therapeutics. And so having this particular company, fulfilling this particular vision, while also working with unempowered communities that don't have this particular experience, is something that drove me to start this company.
That's amazing. Yeah. What's sort of step one in this adventure? I mean, you've got a lot of ideas. I got a big mission. How do you sort of think about first steps to second steps to third steps? Kind of walk us through what that roadmap looks like.
Yes, exactly. Basically, it's first to identify the need. And again, biotechnology is one of those fields that is not for the faint of heart. It's very, very challenging. And so a lot of people have a lot of good ideas, but there is still a lack of affordable lab space. So that was the number one foundation. Number two was, yes, there is this need, but then there's also a population that have not experienced this opportunity. How do I create a um, a platform in which many individuals, no matter what your background is, can participate in this particular field? And then finally, looking for a particular location. San Francisco, the Research Triangle, Boston, Chicago, those particular areas, New York City, are already filled. They're very expensive. And so being in Huntsville, Alabama, a burgeoning area where biotech and life sciences can grow is the ideal location to start and begin this business.
That's great. That's great. You know, biotech lab feels like it could be a lot of things. Is there a specific type of, person that would benefit the most from this? Is it, universities? Is it more individualized people? Is there certain tech that you have to have? You know what I mean? Like it feels like it could be a lot of different things here. What kind of sort of infrastructure do you need to meet the need?
Right. And this is one reason why Biolabshare is such a wonderful opportunity, because you have to have a wet lab. And when we're talking about a wet lab, you must be able to provide the sinks, for lack of a better way of saying it. You have to provide the gas lines coming in. And so you have to have specialized infrastructure. And that specialized infrastructure is not everywhere.
Right.
And so even though universities may have those particular type of infrastructure, it is usually geared for students. Ours are geared for entrepreneurs. But we'll still bring in students from different universities. For example, we are partnering with Oakland University, University of Alabama in Huntsville, Alabama A&M. We have all have discussions with them, and they're excited. And so we will bring their students to our particular lab, and so that they can have this unique experience of being around entrepreneurs that are creating new diagnostics, new therapeutics in the area of life sciences, biotechnology, and of course, health AI.
Yeah. And is this something that you are envisioning building from the ground up or taking an existing building and outfitting it for the needs of the labs?
Yes. And so we have, again, as part of my family's estate, and this is part of our social entrepreneurial outreach to our community. Life has been good to us, and so we decided, what can we do in order to share our expertise? Very quickly, both of my parents are in healthcare. I'm in healthcare. My wife is in healthcare. And so we wanted to do something that was unique. So we have 10 acres. We have already started to build.
Okay.
So the foundation has been laid, and so it's going to be a ground up experience.
Okay. What is this business model at the end of the day? Is it something where you're a landlord and you're charging rent? Is it more of the partnerships? Is it licensing maybe some of the ideas that come out of the system? So as a investor looking at something like this, what would they be getting into in terms of the business plan?
Okay, so number one is this is a real estate deal,
Mm-hmm.
and we're following that particular model. So at the end of the day, there's a real estate investment component associated with it. On top of that, there's also the services, also the products that come from the companies that will be working with us. So we are what we call a biotech incubator, a business
Mm-hmm.
incubator, in which when we build our lab, we will have close to 20 different companies being able to use our facilities as startups. And we take a small equity stake in each of those particular companies. And then as they graduate, those funds come back into the company. So there's two ways to make a good return. One, looking at the real estate, and then on top of that, the different type of companies that will be part of our ecosystem.
That's great. So for people who have never invested in something like this, and I don't really want to talk about just your terms in general, just
Right.
somebody who's a retail investor, they're out there and they're thinking like, oh, this is interesting. So there's a little retail in there. There's a little bit of equity play in this. There's this incubator component. What are sort of general timelines for something like this? Is this something like, hey, in 20 years this might make sense, in 10 years, in 5 years? What if they have no idea? They're not in medical. They're just like, hey, this is it, but I don't know what I'm even getting into. So how would you sort of explain just this business in general to people?
Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. We have two phases to a building process, which we have already started. The ground has been broken, the foundation has been laid to some of our buildings. So, first, we're building a resident because this is a co living, co working community,
Mm,
the first of its kind within the state of Alabama, where the individuals who are going to be entrepreneurs who will be working within the lab will actually be within those residents. So
mm,
they're investing in the real estate of the company. So that's in phase one, and that will be completed by the end of next year. The
okay.
phase two is actually the building of the lab and the rec center.
Mm,
So that is where we now will have individuals that will lease space within our 15,000 square foot lab. And so we will have individuals that will lease the duplexes that we're building, plus
mm,
individuals and entrepreneurs that will lease the office space in the wet labs that we
mm,
are building. And so the return will be basically within 2 to 3 years after
mm,
we have completed, so that they could be able to, in essence, cash out if
mm.
they desire. One of the things that we plan to do within the next 5 years is take Biolabshare public
Okay.
because of the tremendous cost that it takes to run a bioincubator in a life science research community. And so that will be an opportunity in which they can make significant returns on their funds.
Gotcha. What kind of governance or oversight exists in your type of business that we're talking about here? Is there any, what is it ran by the state at all? Like, how do you, in terms of setting up wet labs and this sort of stuff, is there another firm that comes in that verifies everything? Just what does it look like for people that don't know?
Yes, one of the things that is very important is that we have certification. So you could
Mm,
build a lab, but if you don't have outside organizations to come in, inspect, and making sure that the lab is up to par, then it makes a bit of business model fall apart. So we
mm,
have the National Institutes of Health that will be working for their certification. And then we have BARDA, which is also a large granting government organization that will also certify our labs. So we are working for certification by the NIH and also the certification by BARDA. And
mm,
so that people will know that we are a Class A lab facility.
mm, mm. And is that something that you'd have to maintain year after year, every 6 months, 10 years? Is that something that you constantly, that kind of keep coming back and double checking that you're hitting standards or the new standards that might exist? Is that a reoccurring thing?
Yes, you better believe it is. And so our number one goal is making sure that the environment that we create for these entrepreneurs that are coming in will be able to feel comfortable recognizing that we have their best interest in heart and that our investors also know that we are keeping up with the latest so that we can continue to be a business incubator that provide not only therapeutics, also a return for our investors.
Sure, sure. What's the biggest risk in a business like this? I mean, what are things that keep you up at night? What are the things that you have to really kind of focus on? What's just the biggest risk in something like this? No tenants coming in, construction taking forever. I mean, is there certain things that you're really nervous about?
The biggest risk is a change in the regulatory
Mm,
field, and that could be very challenging right now. Admittedly, biotechnology is going through some challenges because of certain governmental changes that have occurred, especially with NIH.
mm,
However, biotechnology is a long play. And
mm,
so, even though there are short term opportunities, the long term play is making sure that these particular startups have the foundation that they need. They have the resources of being able to meet angel investors and venture capital firms that will
mm.
invest in their particular technology. So, our vetting process has to be on par to make sure that we have companies that can scale. And
Sure.
then, of course, when they graduate from the bio incubator, that we get something that can be returned to the
Mm,
investors.
mm.
So the political regulatory landscape can be challenging, but not something that cannot be overcome.
Gotcha. Are there opportunities for grants or funds from the state of Alabama to support this or through universities? Is there any version of that that you can also go out for fundraising?
Uh, definitely.
Do incubators sort of get money from the state, or is there
The
something like
answer,
that that
the
would make
answer is
sense?
yes.
Yeah.
And even though we are for profit, when we partner with nonprofits, they can put us into their grant and
Hmm.
we can be part of that particular funding. And
Yeah.
so, as we work with Oakwood, as we work with University of Alabama and Huntsville, as we work with Alabama A&M, we will also look for granting opportunities. Just to be open, granting opportunities at this time has been somewhat challenged,
Mm.
but I believe that there will be a recovery, and so that's not something that an investor should worry about. We have the funds and mechanism to be able to move our companies forward, and these are, in essence, extra financial
Yeah.
supports from grants.
When you're working with the Alabama A&M and you're working with Oakwood that you're mentioning, what is it typically that they're looking for? Is it an openness to connect? What does those types of conversations typically look like? And the reason I ask is what other partnerships may be coming down the road after this is built, and what does sort of like a partnership in general look like for this? So I'm just wondering, what do those types of conversations look like, and what do the companies on the other side want to see from you?
Okay. First, let me touch base on the first part of your question associated with the educational institutions that we
Hmm.
desire to partner with.
Hmm.
Basically, what we will provide for them is training within the biotechnology field. And that's very important for all three universities. Oakwood does not necessarily have a biotechnology track, and so we will work to help them develop that. We will have some of those students work with us, and we are providing, in essence, free of charge interns for our startups. And so um, what the universities will get, those three universities, are students trained in the area of biotechnology. They get to see the ecosystem so that they, upon graduation, can go ahead and form their own or work within the same similar ecosystem. What the
Hmm.
startups get are individuals are trained that can work with them in the wet labs or with the health AI. And so it's a nice symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
So the universities will get some funding from us on top of what we will give, because these will be paid intern positions.
Hmm.
And so they benefit from that particular connection. Plus, the startups that we have within our lab will also benefit because they don't have to pay for an extra worker. And that's
Sure,
all
sure,
good.
sure. So I think you were just kind of answering this next question, but maybe we can elaborate a little bit more on it. But
Okay.
how are you sort of imagining maintaining affordability in the region for early stage biotech founders? Just how do you sort of predict, hey, maybe 5 years out, this will be happening or that'll be happening? Just how do you sort of have that mission behind you of making everything affordable for these young startups that are getting into the incubator?
And that's an excellent question. I think our model since it's unique to the state of Alabama, Alabama is much more affordable than the other, top 10 biotech system. Plus, we have Hudson Alpha that's close by. And one of the things that we provide is even though we will support startups, most of our startups will probably end up in Hudson Alpha. Because we have very small labs, about 100 square feet to 600 square feet, and the largest spaces are with Hudson Alpha. But Hudson Alpha is basically filled now, 95% plus is filled. A new incubator just opened up in Southern Research, located in Birmingham, and they're basically filled. And so life science incubators, even in this some particular environment, has done pretty good with a rental capacity of 90% plus. And so what we provide for these particular companies coming in terms of affordability is being able to live and walk to one's lab. So you're not living, 10 miles from the lab. Also to have our certain amenities like our rec center, our health nest center, in which they can, just relax in a park-like setting. So, and then our costs, since it's an incubator, there's something that we are very mindful of that will be less than the regular biotech wet lab space rental within the city. So what they get is a resident, they get also a wellness area, and then they get, of course, the lab space in which we will support them. And all they have to do is concentrate on their research. So even though there's a small rental fee, it is so far below cost that it makes it very economical for them.
Yeah. And how do you see yourself kind of growing and shifting as this incubator grows?
Well, my number one goal is just get it off the ground and get it started, get it filled. But I'm hoping to step back and just play like the chairman role, chairman of the board, and then bring in some a little bit more season that could allow it to grow. So we start out with 2 floors, approximately 14,000 square feet. But in the design, I have added a possibility of a 3rd floor, and that 3rd floor is for larger companies. So those particular spaces are between 1,000 to 2,000 square feet. So if someone wants to take the entire 7,000 square foot floor for themselves, that's a possibility. So in the next 5 years, I probably will step down and just remain as a chairman and bring in someone that will be able to move those companies forward. One of the other things that I'm hoping to obtain is a venture capital firm or angel investment company that will partner with us to make the segue of those particular companies that will be graduating, make their lives a little bit easier as they move off from our facility. Very quickly, this is one sentence. Using incubators, the company stays for 3 years. And then the 4th year is a transition year. So we want to make sure that companies are able to transition from us earlier than 4 years. But if I could get a company to transition in 1 year, scale up in 2 years or 3 years, that would be our goal.
That's great. That's great. Biolabshare makes money. How? Yeah, just that sentence. Just finish that sentence for me.
Okay. Biolabshare makes money through its rental fees, through partnership with other organizations, with grants, and the big the big amount of funds that will be coming in when we graduate a particular company and that company is sold or go public. Since we have an equity stake in us, a particular company, if a company sells for 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, that comes back into the company.
That's great. So where can people dive in? They want to learn more. They want to check out what you're working on. Where should we send people?
We fund a portal page and the portal landing page that you have created for us.
That's great. Well, awesome. Hey, everybody, if you guys have listened before, you guys know I'm going to put all the links in the show notes. Please go check this out. Very unique stuff down here. What you're building is awesome and can be very beneficial for a lot of other companies growing in this space. So really cool project. I appreciate you taking time out of your day before the holidays. Great conversation, and I look forward to learning and hearing more about how you're growing. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you greatly. Goodbye.